Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Natsu had dual elements. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 52, A World Without Magic. You're acting nothing like the Lucy I know. Your hair is missing its pink streaks. You're missing your mate Mark, Natsu proclaimed, pointing at the bizarre Lucy, feeling his heart starting to pound in his chest. Inhaling deeply, Natsu's eyes narrowed slightly, confirming his own suspicions. And your scent is completely different. Doing a quick spin, Natsu pointed at all of his supposed guildmates. In fact, all of your scents are completely different. What? Don't go smelling me, you freak! Lucy shrieked as her face flushed bright red in embarrassment. Performing a rapid 2 to wind up, Lucy attempted to hit Natsu with a powerful roundhouse kick. However, the entire guild was stunned when Natsu reached up and stopped her kick with his bare hand, none of them more shocked than Lucy herself. There's no way, Natsu has never stopped one of my attacks before. Alright. That's enough, everyone. Lucy, you know better than to start fights with Natsu. The pink-haired dragon slayer's entire body stiffened when heard a voice that he thought he would never hear again. Natsu's heart was already racing, but now he could feel it really thundering in his chest. He was sure that people nearby could hear it. Releasing his grip on Lucy's leg, Natsu felt a lump form in his throat. Tightly balling his fists, Natsu finally mustered up enough courage and turned around. What he saw shocked him to his core. Standing less than 10 feet away was someone that he believed was dead, Lysana Strauss. Also, Jet and Droy. Please stop picking on my brother. This can't be real, I have to be seeing things. Natsu thought, feeling his breath hitch as he examined Lysana from head to toe. Lysana was wearing a light blue tank top with crossed straps around her neck. She had on a long, flowing skirt, with a sash tied around her waist and sandals. Her hair was a bit shorter than Natsu remembered, and her white fairy tale guild mark was visible on her thigh. Knowing that something was up with members of the guild, Natsu sniffed the air several times. He paused after a few moments, tears stinging his eyes when a very familiar scent hit his nose. This scent, there's no mistaking it. And another thing. Lysana paused when she noticed that Natsu was slowly walking toward her, tears forming in his eyes. Natsu, is everything okay? There's no mistaking it, Natsu said, before lunging forward and embracing Lysana in a powerful hug. Lysana yelped in surprise as Natsu pulled her closer, cupping the back of her head and wrapping his other arm around her shoulders. Before Lysana could protest at all, she was stopped when she felt something fall onto her shoulder. Looking up, Lysana was shocked to see tears streaming down Natsu's cheeks. Sniffling several times in a vain attempt to fight back his tears, Natsu couldn't hold back his overflowing emotions. There's no mistaking it, you're my Lysana. Natsu, what's wrong with you? Lysana thought as she stared at the pink-haired dragon slayer in a mixture of shock and confusion. Seeing that Natsu's shoulders were trembling, Lysana couldn't resist the urge to return the pink-haired dragon slayer's embrace, wanting to do anything she could to ease his pain. A small smile spread across Lysana's face as rubbed she Natsu's back. However, as Lysana continued to console Natsu, something he had said stuck out to her. Wait, he said that I was his Lysana, does that mean? Suddenly, Lysana was overcome by a familiar sense of tingling warmth, a sensation she hadn't experienced in almost 2 years. A realization struck Lysana as she began to panic, her eyes widening in shock. Without warning, Lysana pushed Natsu away, surprising the pink-haired dragon slayer. Lysana closely studied Natsu as he stared at her with a mixture of disappointment and hurt on his face. With her eyes darting around, Lysana analyzed every aspect of Natsu's appearance and demeanor, picking up on several minor details she had initially missed. The differences in appearance, what Natsu had said, and that comforting warmth, all lead Lysana to one conclusion. Stepping away from the pink-haired dragon slayer, Lysana cupped both hands over her mouth, feeling tears sting her eyes. There's no mistaking it, you're my Natsu," Lisanna said barely above a whisper, watching as the pink-haired dragon slayer reached out to her. Out of the corner of her eye, Lisanna spotted Elfman and Mirajane watching the whole situation unfold with confused expressions. Feeling a wave of guilt wash over her, Lisanna slowly shook her head and took another step back before Natsu could touch her. Just as Natsu was about to say something, Lisanna spun around and sprinted toward the guild's backroom. As Lisanna burst through the door, she dashed around a corner and hid behind a box full of supplies, feeling tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry, Natsu. Please forgive me. But I have to get away from you. I can't put Mirane and Elf Niken through the pain they experienced ever again." "Lisanna!" Natsu called out as he watched the door to the backroom slam closed. The pink-haired dragon slayer wanted desperately to chase after Lisanna and figure out what the hell was going on, but a nagging feeling in the back of his mind stopped him. Lisanna had definitely recognized him, but something had pushed her away from him. The pained look on Lisanna's face made Natsu's heart ache, but he knew this wasn't something he wouldn't be able to pry out of her. If he chased after Lisanna and pressed her on the matter, he'd only drive her further away. She'd have to tell him when she felt ready. So, Natsu reluctantly resisted the urge to sprint out of the guild after Lisanna. He had other pressing matters to address. "Lisanna! Great job, you idiot!" Lucy exclaimed, a growl rumbling in her throat as she smacked Natsu upside the head. However, Lucy was surprised when the pink-haired dragon slayer seemed to be completely unfazed by her strike. "Okay, this is getting seriously freaky now. What the hell is going on here? I don't understand. That was Mirasan's little sister, right?" Wendy said as she scanned around the guild hall once again, now truly starting to notice how different her guildmates were. "I thought she was dead. That pink-haired buffoon, I think he was right about something," Carla muttered, pointing to a particular person on the other side of the guild. "And that person over there proves it." "What are you?" Wendy stopped mid-sentence when she saw exactly who the white-furred cat was pointing at. The blue-haired dragon slayer felt her entire face flush bright red when she spotted what could only be described as a version of herself, but a version that was at least 6 years older. This alternate Wendy was a tall, young woman with ample breasts and long blue hair. Her attire consisted of a very revealing cerulean-colored top with a thin white trim, which tapered off at her waist and at her bust into multiple spiked points. Decorating the front of this top was a sky blue bow tied in the very center of her chest, and she wrapped up her overall appearance with a pair of white capri shorts. "Is that me?" Seeing her alternate version's bountiful breasts, Wendy couldn't help but feel a wave of inferiority as hugged her own budding bust. Wendy's entire body felt hot with embarrassment as she glanced nervously at Natsu, before staring down at her chest. "I know Natsu likes them big, will he still like mine? At first, I thought everyone's personalities had been reversed, but I was wrong." Carla continued her explanation, which snapped Wendy out of her thoughts. "These people aren't the guildmates we've been looking for. They're all completely different people. They've lived in Idolos this entire time." "Wait, I've heard about this before, it was in one of the books Levi was telling Luce about." Natsu chimed in, stroking his chin as he tried to remember exactly what Levi had said. Since Idolos is a parallel world, with its own culture and history, it's entirely possible that they'd have their own fairy tale, and parallel versions of our nakama to go along with it. Releasing a heavy sigh, Natsu pressed a hand to his head. "Man, this is fucking crazy, my head is seriously starting to hurt." "So, this fairy tale existed in Idolos the entire time?" Wendy said as she felt a chill run down her spine, worry evident on her face. "Then where are all of our nakama? We need to keep looking for them." "Oi! I'm getting really sick of you guys talking amongst yourselves and acting like we're not all here." Lucy growled in a frustrated tone, crossing her arms underneath her chest and glaring at Natsu and his group. "Now start talking. What is going on here? It'll be trouble if we stay here," Carla said as she rushed over and grabbed Happy's paw, leading the blue cat toward the guild's front doors. "We need to go. Hey! Don't fucking ignore me!" Lucy roared, a vein bulging on her forehead as she stomped her foot. "I'm 2 seconds away from whooping all of your asses." "Carla!" Wendy exclaimed as she watched the white cat drag Happy toward the guild's exit. Where are we going? We need to go to the royal capital. Carla replied without looking back, stopping briefly at the double doors. There must be clues about our guild there. Carla was cut off mid-sentence when the guild's doors suddenly burst open and in sprinted a panting fairy tale member. What on Earthland is happening? It's the fairy hunters. The panicked guild member screamed as he slammed the doors shut behind him. We need to leave. Now. Damn it, answers will have to wait. Lucy growled, angrily pointing at Happy and Carla. Oi, you damn cats. Get away from the door. You're not going anywhere right now. How could they have found us already? Why can't they just leave us alone, damn it? Those royal servant bastards, they just don't know when to give up. Hey, Carla. Happy muttered as he began to tremble, watching the members of Fairy Tale scramble around the guild. You mentioned something about a royal capital. Yes. Carol replied, releasing a heavy sigh as she crossed her arms over her chest. That's where we'd likely find the people who sent us to Earthland. Then, are we? Happy struggled to say as he tightly balled his fists, feeling a knot forming in his stomach. Are we Fairy Tale's enemy? God damn, Levy! Lucy yelled, storming over toward the petite Bluinette. Levy was barely paying attention to the chaos and panic around her, sitting in an elaborate-looking contraption and fiddling with several different levers. Is the fucking transportation magic ready yet? Shut the hell up. You want to do this, you bitch. Levy snapped as she shot the busty blonde a fierce glare, before returning her attention to the machine she was operating. I'm doing it right now, so just give me a damn second. Natsu. Wendy breathed out, feeling the air around them start to vibrate. The atmosphere, it's starting to shake. They're here. It's time to go. Come on, Levy. What the hell is dash? Natsu stopped when he heard a thunderous crash just outside the guild, causing the entire building to shake. Can someone tell me what's happening? The kingdom is hunting Fairy Tale. Wendy said as she clutched a hand over her heart, feeling a chill run down her spine. Why would they do that? Isn't it obvious? A voice suddenly spoke from behind Wendy, causing her to squeak in surprise. Whipping around, the blue-haired dragon slayer was surprised to see that it was her alternate self who had spoken up. All mage guilds have been abolished by order from the king. We're the only guild still operating in the entire world. That means we're a dark guild. All right. Everyone hold on to your asses. Levy yelled as she slammed a large lever forward, the sounds of rotating gears and working machinery filling the guild. Most people in the guild tumbled over as the entire building began to quake. Here we go. I'm activating the transportation magic. Outside the Fairy Tale Guild, a massive dual-horned monster was barreling toward the building, the ground trembling underneath its immense size. But just as the beast lashed out at the building with its claws, it disappeared into the ground with a flash of blinding white light. Howling in surprise, the gigantic reared back and shielded its eyes from the intense light. When the blinding rays finally died down, the monster roared in anger, destroying the ground where the guild had been seconds earlier. This is starting to get quite annoying. A male voice said as an armored figure approached from behind the displeased monster. The man was quite tall with blue eyes and blonde hair in a pompadour style. He had long sideburns extending to the ends of his face and some light stubble. His face was very defined and had a noticeable cleft chin. He wore light red, shiny armor with gold chain mail and a bronze belt, and what appeared to be black briefs. He also wore a white cape with the Idolos insignia on it. These fairies are seriously quick runners. Sugar boy, I didn't know you came as well. A gruff feminine voice said from atop the, now calm, monster. It was so close, fairy hunter. Sugar boy said with a light sigh, gazing at the smoking ground where Fairy Tale had been earlier. But they no longer have the means for transporting like that. It's only a matter of time now before you hunt them down. But more importantly, it appears that the gigantic Anima project was a massive success. And they're requesting all the captains of the magical force unit to return to the kingdom. What happened to the Fairy Tale members from Earthland? The feminine voice barked as another armored figure suddenly appeared, standing on top of the dual-horned monster. Have they been completely destroyed? I wouldn't say they were destroyed, devoured is more like it. Sugar Boy replied with a chuckle, gazing up at his female comrade. Our king truly has set high goals to achieve. I see. What happened to the Earthland mages that were devoured? The armored figure asked as she walked to the edge of the monster's mount, looking as if she were about to hop down. They're in the kingdom. Sugar Boy replied, stroking his chin as a devious smile spread across his face. They were turned into a massive lacrima. That's great news. The armored woman said as she dropped down next to Sugar Boy. The woman was well endowed and wore a very provocative outfit comprising of a revealing, halter-type armor breastplate top, that left much of her cleavage and stomach exposed, with light armored gauntlets and greaves on her forearms and forelegs, respectively, as well as her thighs. She also wore a dark bikini bottom with a piece of cloth obscuring her hips. She also wore a dark scarf around her neck. But the woman's most distinctive feature was her long, flowing, wavy scarlet hair that was tied into an elegant, loose knot at the back. That should Idolas enough magic power for quite a while. 1 minute later, Idolas Fairy Tale Guild. Hey, guys! Levy called out, the entire guild shaking as it emerged from the ground in an entirely new location, far away from the fairy hunters. We've finished moving. The entire guild moved? Natsu asked no one in particular as he got up off the ground and dusted himself off. Crouching down, Natsu helped Natsu and both cats back onto their feet. That's awesome. Is everyone alright? Yeah. Is anything broken? We need to do an inspection and make sure everything is still in working order. What the hell, Levy? Lucy snarled as she glared fiercely at the smaller mage, getting right in her face. That was such a close call because you're so damn slow. Next time, be my guest and do it instead, ya big-tid cow. Levy growled, standing up on her toes and pressing her forehead against Lucy's, returning the blonde's intense glare. I didn't see you doing anything to save all our asses. I am not getting involved in that. Natsu thought as he slowly shook his head, exhaling in exasperation. Turning around, Natsu saw that Mira Jane was at her usual spot behind the bar and decided to get some answers from her. Hey, Mira, who the hell was that guy earlier? Mira? My, aren't you being bold today, Natsu? When did we get close enough for nicknames? Mira Jane said with a giggle, her face flushing slightly as she waved dismissively. And what's going on with you, Natsu? You've been acting strange this whole time. Did something happen while you were gone? Seeing utter confusion evident on Natsu's face, Mira giggled to herself again. That was one of the captains from the Royal Army's Magical Force Unit. Her name is Urza Nightwalker, aka the Fairy Hunter. What did you just say? Natsu breathed out as his eyes widened in complete shock, his heart thundering in his chest. Quickly backing away from the bar, Natsu would have tripped over a fallen barstool if Wendy hadn't stopped him. Regaining his foot, Natsu clutched a hand over his heart, feeling it start to ache. There's no way, Urza is our enemy? I know this must be troubling, Natsu, but we need to remain calm and figure out what to do. Wendy said gently, guiding the pink-haired dragon slayer over to a nearby table. Once Natsu had taken a seat, Wendy pulled out her own chair and sat down next to him. Reaching over, Wendy placed a comforting hand on the pink-haired dragon slayer's shoulder. So, what's our next move, Natsu? Your next move is to explain who the hell you guys are. Lucy exclaimed angrily as she slammed a chair down next to Natsu and spun it around. With the chair now facing backward, Lucy roughly sat in it and leaned over the back. You may look like Natsu, but you sure as shit ain't acting like him. Without even looking, Lucy suddenly jabbed her finger toward Wendy. And this girl looks like just Wendy, if she was younger. Now, start talking, before I get violent. Listen. Natsu said, releasing a heavy sigh as he turned to look at Lucy. However, when Natsu saw the blonde's fierce glare, he became aware that the rest of the guild was starting to look at him and Wendy warily. Not wanting to start any trouble, Natsu rubbed the back of his head. Okay, I'll tell you anything you want to know. But I'm only going to say this stuff once, so pay attention. After this, Natsu spent nearly an hour fielding questions from the members of Idola's fairy tale, answering everything as best he could. Wendy, Happy, and Carla would also chime in from time to time to help him out. Eventually, it looked like tensions had died down, with the entire guild now gathered around Natsu's table. Lucy had lost her glare partway through his explanation, now attentively listening to everything he said. So, if I understand things right, you guys came from another world called Earthland. Lucy said as she gestured toward Natsu, Wendy, Happy, and Carla, which caused all four of them to nod their heads. And now you're here in Idolas on a mission to save your friends? Once again, Natsu nodded his head to confirm what Lucy had said. Letting out a low whistle, Lucy leaned back in her chair. Man, I can't believe there's a fairy tale in your world too, and in that world, Urza isn't an evil cunt. Now, that's the part one find hardest to believe. Sounds like you have a bone to pick with her. Carla commented, crossing her arms over her chest and staring up at Edo Lucy. Do you two have bad blood or something? Yeah, something like that. Lucy grumbled as she scratched the back of her head, looking off to the side. But I don't want to get into that right now. We can small talk later. Natsu said, glancing at all the Edo fairy tale members gathered around him. Is there any way you guys could tell us the best way to get to the royal capital? Seeing the Edo fairy tale members give him worried looks and mutter amongst themselves, Natsu quirked an eyebrow. What? Did I say something weird? Please, we need your help. Our friends have been absorbed into this world by your king. Wendy pleaded as she clasped her hands together. We have to go save them, or they'll be turned into pure magic, reduced to nothing. We can't let that happen. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Shibimi, but you're better off giving up on that idea. Edo Wendy said, releasing a heavy sigh as she gave the blue-haired dragon slayer a sympathetic look. Nobody has ever stood up against the king of Idolas and lived to tell the tale. You cannot underestimate the power this kingdom holds. You see, magic is a limited resource. Edo Elfman explained in a somewhat nervous tone as he wrung his hands. It won't last forever. The king fears that inevitability above all else and has been hoarding all the kingdom's magic for himself. Edo Gray added before whipping around to face Edo Juvia, a goofy smile plastered on his face. Isn't that right, Juvia-chan? Correct, and stop staring at me like that. Edo Juvia snapped as she glared at Edo Gray. Seeing that Edo Gray had no intention of leaving her alone, Edo Juvia sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. Because of the king's selfish hoarding of our kingdom's magic, he sent out a royal decree ordering all mage guilds to disband. We tried to resist it first, but the royal army's magical forces crushed the other guilds one by one, until we were the only ones left. It's not like we escaped unharmed either. We lost over half of our members. Those bastards even killed our master. Such a kind old man killed in cold blood to set an example. I understand the situation, and know it will be dangerous, but please. You have to tell us the way. Natsu exclaimed, slamming his fist onto the table which caused it to splinter. Several of the Edo fairy tale members backed away, seeing the unwavering look in the pink-haired dragon slayer's eyes. I'm gonna save my friends and my mates. I don't care if I have to fight the king's entire army by myself. This guy. Edo Lucy thought as she stared at Natsu in shock before a smirk spread across her face. That look in his eyes, if he's anything like my Natsu, then maybe he will be able to make a difference. Same time, Royal Capital's Palace. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Another captain of Idola's magical militia, Hughes, exclaimed, leaning over a balcony and gawking at the massive lacrima on the other side of the city. Hughes was a young man with strange arrow-like eyebrows and had messy dark purple hair with one thick lock of white hair near the front right side. He also had rather long bangs that obscured his forehead. He wore a white uniform consisting of a long coat with gold trim and metal shoulder guards over matching pants and a dark green shirt, decorated with an olive green crisscrossing line pattern. Have you seen this huge lacrima, Urza? I saw it when I arrived, Hughes. Edo Urza said with a smirk as she gazed at impressive lacrima. It truly is a sight to behold. It really is. Hughes chuckled, stepping away from the balcony's railing. I still can't believe there are tens of thousands of people from Earthland in there. We're absorbing so much magical power from them. That's not quite right, Hughes. Sugar Boy said as he joined them out on the balcony, tapping his chin. To be more accurate, it's the magical power from approximately 100 mages, and the lives of a magnitude of people besides them. Bah, do we really need to nitpick the details? Hughes whined, waving dismissively at Sugar Boy. I'm just trying to say that this thing is amazing, that's all. And I'm not just talking about normal amazing. I'm talking super amazing. Yes, super amazing indeed. Sugar Boy said as he gestured back into the palace. We should get going, the king is expecting us. Yes, let's head there now. Edo Urza said, sparing one last glance at the Lacrima before she re-entered the palace, with Sugar Boy and Hughes trailing behind her. What do you think, Dash? Oh, Urza-shan. Nightwalker stopped in her tracks when she heard a familiar voice call out her name, annoyance visible on her face. Have you still not eliminated that pesky fairy tale guild? Hello, Byro. Edo Urza said as she released a heavy sigh, turning to face the man who was attempting to taunt her. Byro was a very short, elderly man, sporting a strangely shaped nose and large eyes. Aside from his horn-shaped eyebrows and the tufts of hair on either side of his face, he was completely bald. He also had several dark liver spots on his forehead and on the side of his head. Due to his small frame, most of Byro's figure was covered by his decorated cape, which featured a wide, adorned collar and two large metal-like ornaments on the front. Underneath it, he donned a simple dark robe with lighter edges. Unfortunately, Fairy Tail was able to escape. But they can run away no longer. The next time we catch them, they shall be destroyed. TSHK, and to think you're called the Fairy Hunter, what a farce. Byro mocked with a smirk, clasping his hands behind his back. Fairy Tailish the only mage guild left, certainly they are quite skilled at running away, but I feel like His Majesty would like to see results from you sooner, rather than later. Nightwalker said nothing in response, simply narrowing her eyes at the elderly chief of staff. She knew that he was trying to goad a reaction out of her, and she wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Just you wait, old man, once Fairy Tail has been eliminated, you're next on my list. Don't fret, Byro. Sugar Boy said as he patted Nightwalker on the back. The day when our fairy hunter rids us of those pests is soon at hand. That's totally right. Hughes exclaimed excitedly, pumping his fists into the air as he wildly gestured toward Edo Urza's sword. Urza's sword skills are amazing. Like super amazing. Can you all please quiet down, I can't stand excessive noise? A deep and authoritative voice said from behind Byro. Looking past the short, elderly man, it was hard to miss the large, imposing black-furred cat clad in a full suit of armor. That goes for all of you. Panther Lily. Nightwalker said as she rested her hands on her hips, gazing at the massive cat. Panther Lily's head was that of a black panther's, but he had a tall, muscular build similar to that of a human's. He had a white muzzle, small red eyes, and a scar running down across his left eye. Like his fellow commanders, except for Hughes, he wore a personal set of battle armor with a long cape draped around his body, as well as a helmet. I apologize, I didn't know we were causing a disturbance. Don't apologize, Urza, this guy is just being a downer. Hughes scoffed, his eyes narrowing as he jabbed his finger toward Panther Lily. Who do you think you are? Do you think you're some big hotshot around here? I've got an idea, why don't you try shutting your mouth for a change? Lily fired back, which caused Hughes to recoil back, gritting his teeth in frustration. Enough dawdling, the king wishes to see us. He seems to be in quite a foul mood. Sugar Boy mused as he watched Panther Lily turn around and begin walking toward the throne room. Do you think someone stepped on his tail? I believe he's frustrated with the arms race our country has gotten into. Nightwalker suggested, shaking her head and crossing her arms underneath her chest. Sugar Boy appeared to ponder what Nightwalker said, before shrugging his shoulders. Our country has united most of the world, it is odd that we'd still need to further develop arms. It must be making Panther Lily uneasy. I suppose so, there are still a few rebellious factions out there. Sugar Boy added as he began to follow after Lily. But we should be more than capable of handling them ourselves. Whoa! Wait up for me, guys! Hughes exclaimed, racing after Nightwalker and Sugar Boy after he noticed they had started to leave without him. And what's with this amazing complex topic you're discussing? I have no clue what you're talking about. Palace throne room. Your Majesty. Your Majesty, an energetic and enthusiastic female voice called out as the doors of the throne room burst open. With amazing speed, a young girl sprinted toward the king's throne, kicking up a large amount of dirt and dust behind her. Skidding to a stop, the girl saluted the king. We have confirmation that extraction of energy from the giant lacrima can begin according to plan in exactly 4 days' time. I offer you my sincerest congratulations. This girl was Coco, Assistant Chief of Staff for the Royal Army. Coco was a lean and short girl whose face bore a distinct resemblance to a puppy, with a small nose and a green headgear possessing large, floppy ears. She had brown eyes and long brown hair that was kept with a blue, spherical ponytail that descended down her right shoulder. Coco wore a yellow dress over a dark blue, skin-tight bodysuit that ran from the middle of her forearms down to her shoulders. She also wore white gloves on both hands and was completely barefoot. Inadequate. The king of Idolas, Faust, muttered underneath his breath as he stroked his long white beard. Faust was a tall and slim elderly man with a very long, wavy grayish-white hair reaching down below his shoulder, with a similar beard going down below his neck to his upper chest, and a matching mustache. He possessed an elongated, rectangular face with prominent cheekbones, with a similarly elongated, prominent flat nose. His round eyes were circled by a series of wrinkles. Faust wore regal attire, which was brown in color. He sported a pinstriped brown coat, with buckled belts covering the lower part of each sleeve and lighter brown cuffs, each complete with an additional, matching buckled belt, over a darker vest, below which was a skirt-like cloth, possessing stripes similar to the ones on Faust's coat. Such a skirt was matched by a pair of light, baggy light pants tucked inside simple boots. Faust also sported a long, bright brown mantle covered in a rhomboid pattern, which came with a short mantle covering his shoulders. This had white fur lining its edges, possessing simple decorations in its lower part and a collar consisting of many small rings lined up one after the other. Instead of a crown, Faust wore a headgear reminiscent of a rounded mitre, which got larger near its upper part and was white on the lower edges and on the semicircular front part, but the same color of Faust's cape on the rest. The semicircular part bore a black symbol reminiscent of a saber crossed with a musical horn, which had its smaller edge ending in a curl. Coco muttered, quirking an eyebrow in confusion before she ran a quick lap around the throne room, coming to a skidding stop in front of the king once again. Your Majesty, did you say something? I said that it will be inadequate. Faust repeated himself as he leaned back in his throne. Don't make me say it again, girl. If I may be so bold as to speak freely, Your Majesty. Coco exclaimed as she began to run in circles in front of Faust, appearing to have far too much energy. That huge lacrima out there contains the magical energy from an entire town in Earthland. It'll supply us with more than enough magical power for the next 10 years. That's exactly the problem. I need more. Bring me more magical power. Faust said in a menacing tone, slowly getting up out of his throne, a dark look in his eyes. It must be limitless. A supply of magical power that will never run out. Same time, somewhere in Idolas. Natsu. Happy whined as he trailed behind the rest of the group, panting heavily and looking completely exhausted. How much further till we get to the capital? Come on, Happy, we've only been walking for 20 minutes. Natsu said with a light sigh, crouching down in front of the blue cat. With a small smile, Natsu patted Happy's head. It's supposed to take a couple of days on foot, so why don't I carry you for a bit, buddy? Yay! Happy cheered as he jumped into Natsu's arms. You're the best, Natsu. Things would go so much faster if our arrow worked properly. Carla huffed, crossing her arms and walking up to Natsu. Given our situation, walking appears to be our only option. Can we really not use magic here? Wendy asked as she followed Natsu's example and picked Carla up, much to the white cat's surprise. It's so strange not being able to use magic, it's such a normal part of our lives. I cannot say for sure whether we can't use it or not. Carla replied, clearly enjoying being carried by Wendy as she nuzzled into the blue-haired dragon slayer's arms. But I do foresee difficult times ahead. Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we find something to eat? All this excitement has Natsu was cut off when he slammed face first into something. Whatever Natsu had walked into was quite soft and flesh-like, bouncing him backward. After nearly stumbling, Natsu managed to regain his footing and got a good look at what he had run into. Higher and higher, Natsu had to raise his gaze, until he was staring into the terrifying eyes of a massive frog-like monster. Oh, shit. Natsu! It's gonna attack us. Happy screamed in a panic as he watched the monster raise one of its webbed hands, looking like it was about to squash them. Do something. Let's see if Carla is right about us not being able to use magic. Natsu exclaimed, cocking his fist back and trying to channel his magic. Lightning dragons. The pink-haired dragon slayer broke out in a worried sweat when he didn't feel any magic flowing through his body. Fuck it. Grabbing Wendy's hand, Natsu began to sprint away from the frog monster, just barely managing to avoid its hand slamming into the ground. Wendy barely managed to keep up as Natsu pulled her and Carla up and around boulders, doing everything he could to get them away from the frog beast. As Natsu leaped over a fallen tree, Wendy lost her footing and tripped. Groaning in pain as she tried to stand back up, Wendy yelped in surprise when she saw the frog monster barreling straight toward her. Natsu immediately whipped back around and grabbed a hold of Wendy, throwing her onto his back. Just as Natsu sprinted away, the frog monster pounced on the spot where Wendy had just been standing. Gah! Could this bastard give up already? Natsu exclaimed as he slid underneath a fallen log, before darting into a narrow passageway. However, as Natsu sprinted down the corridor, he soon realized that it led to a dead end. Coming to a skidding stop, Natsu spun around and saw that the frog monster had boxed them in. Quickly scanning around, Natsu looked for any way out but cursed when he saw nothing. As the frog beast drew closer, with a hungry look in its eyes, Natsu set Wendy and Happy down, standing in front of them protectively. I'll keep you guys safe. While I'm holding it off, you three make a break for it. However, before Wendy could protest, and Natsu could make his noble sacrifice, a figure leaped down into the passageway in front of them. All of the fairy tale members' eyes widened in surprise when they recognized that it was Edo Lucy who had come to their rescue. Leaping into the air, Edo Lucy pulled out a device similar to the hilt of a sword. But with a flick of her wrist, a lengthy whip of blue electrical magic emerged. With amazing power and expertise, Edo Lucy unleashed a barrage of strikes with her whip, pummeling the frog monster. In the blink of an eye, the beast was defeated, collapsing into an unconscious heap in front of Lucy. Lucy! Natsu exclaimed, his eyes lighting up as he raced over to the blonde, pulling her in for a tight hug. Edo Lucy fiercely protested Natsu's embrace, her face burning bright red as she repeatedly tried to push him off. That was so fucking awesome! What are you doing here? Carla asked in a surprised tone as she stared up at the flustered blonde. I thought none of you Idolos fairy tale members were going to help us. Well, you know, it's dangerous out here, I happen to be. Lucy said, eventually trailing off and mumbling to herself as she struggled to come up with an excuse. Finally managing to free herself from Natsu's embrace, Edo Lucy glanced over at the pink-haired dragon slayer and her face flushed an even darker shade of red. And, you may not be my Natsu, but you look just like him, and act a bit like him too. Seeing Natsu flash her a bright smile, Edo Lucy inhaled in surprise and turned her back to him. It's not like I was worried about you guys or anything, alright? So, I gotta ask. Natsu said in a sly tone as he stepped in front of Edo Lucy, a teasing smile on his face. Are my Idolos version and you dating? What? Lucy screamed, her face burning here neon red as she glared at Natsu. The blonde's face was constantly fluctuating between a mixture of anger and embarrassment as Natsu chuckled to himself. Listen here ya asshole. Natsu, I mean my Natsu, it's not like, ya see, ugh. With every word she said, Edo Lucy became more and more flustered, before she finally gave up. It's complicated, okay? Oh, I see there's some tension here, looks like I stumbled upon a touchy subject. Natsu said with a smirk as he stroked his chin, a curious look in his eyes. Did something happen between you two? Did you have a fight? Natsu, fight with me, he'd never have the guts to do something like that. Lucy scoffed, crossing her arms and shooting another annoyed glare toward the pink-haired dragon slayer. Why the hell are you so interested anyway? 'Cause the Earthland version of Lucy and I are dating. Natsu revealed, which caused Edo Lucy's eyes to suddenly widen in surprise. The pink-haired dragon slayer decided it was probably best to leave out the whole harem and dragon slayer mates thing for now. If there's really something between you two, I'd like to help you guys take that next step. Falling in love with Luce is one of the best things to ever happen to me. So, there's still a chance. Lucy muttered underneath her breath, mulling over what Natsu had said in her head. After a few moments, Edo Lucy noticed that Natsu was staring at her expectantly, waiting for some type of response. Releasing a light sigh, the blonde decided to listen to whatever advice the pink-haired dragon slayer had to give. Okay, I'll tell you. This shoulder be interesting. Wendy thought as she quirked an eyebrow, watching the entire conversation unfold from the sidelines. I've never heard Natsu give romantic advice before. Natsu and I have been friends ever since we were little kids. We were always together, and over the years, I did eventually fall in love with him. Edo Lucy explained, leaning against one of the corridor's walls. I could tell there was a connection between us, and I've wanted to tell him how I feel so many times, but there's always been one thing holding me back. Yes, see. Edo Lucy suddenly turned her attention toward Carla. Remember how I said there was bad blood between Nightwalker and me? Yes. Carla said in a slightly confused tone as she cocked her head, not understanding why Edo Lucy was bringing the subject. However, a moment later, Carla's eyes widened as realization struck her. Oh, I see, your Natsu has feelings for Nightwalker. Bingo! Edo Lucy said, releasing another sigh as she looked back at the pink-haired dragon slayer. I wasn't the only one who grew up with Natsu, Nightwalker was there too. We were actually best friends when we were younger. But once Urza joined the royal army, she changed. Natsu and I couldn't support what the king was doing. We refused to leave Fairy Tail and join the royal army. We tried to convince her to leave the royal army, but she's too damn stubborn and is convinced the king is doing the right thing. So, when we rebelled against the king, she took this as us betraying her and has made it her mission to destroy Fairy Tail. Damn, that's pretty heavy. Natsu said as he let out a low whistle, before walking over and leaning next to Edo Lucy. I think I understand your situation. I was actually kind of in a similar one myself. The pink-haired dragon slayer chuckled as he remembered the start of his romantic relationship with Urza when she still had feelings for Jalal. Let me ask you one thing, when this rebellion is over and the king is defeated, and we will defeat him, do you think you could ever forgive Nightwalker? Hell no. That bitch. Edo Lucy stopped herself when she saw the serious look Natsu was giving her. Pausing for a moment, Edo Lucy eventually calmed down and huffed in defeat. I don't know, we used to be friends, but she's tried to kill us, and treats Natsu and I like we're villains. I want to hate her, but I just can't. I want things to go back to the way they were before she joined the royal army. I'm sure your Natsu feels the same way. It probably kills him to be enemies with Nightwalker. Natsu said in a sympathetic tone as he reached over and placed a comforting hand on Edo Lucy's shoulder. Look, the best advice I can give you is to just talk with him. I know it'll be embarrassing, and you may end up with your heart broken. But if you wait too long, you'll regret never telling him your feelings. As long as you're honest, and you properly convey your feelings, I'm sure things will work out between you two. Heh, you're right, I guess I have been acting like a serious wimp. I may act tough all the time, but I can't even tell the guy I like how I really feel. Edo Lucy said with a chuckle, scratching her cheek. Thanks, Earthland Natsu, I guess. Damn, this is confusing. Suddenly feeling quite a bit better, Edo Lucy clapped her hands together and pushed off the wall she was leaning against. Alright. If you guys want to get to the capital, follow me. You can't journey through these parts without any magic to defend yourselves, that's just crazy. So stick close and I'll get you there in no time. Sounds like a plan. Natsu said with a grin as he punched his fist into his palm. I'm getting fired up. Wow, Natsu was pretty mature right there. Wendy thought with a small smile, following the pink-haired dragon slayer and Edo Lucy out of the corridor. I guess he does have his moments. Several hours later, the village of Luen. Magic was actually commonly traded until just a few years ago. Edo Lucy explained as she led the Earthland fairy tale members through dilapidated town, clasping her hands behind her head. But then the kingdom started to hunt down the mage guilds. Now, trading magic of any kind is banned, with some serious punishments if you're caught doing it. Hell, it's an offense to even carry a magical item. That's insane. Natsu said, staring into the broken window of a rundown and boarded-up magic shop. Never being able to use magic, I couldn't imagine something like that. It just seems unreal. We use magic in nearly every part of our lives, it'd be hard to live without it. Wendy said as she tightly clutched Carla, noticing some of the townspeople were giving their group strange looks. I have to ask, Edo Lucy-san, ugh, that just sounds wrong out loud. My full name is Lucy Ashley, so feel free to just call me Ashley if that helps. Lucy Ashley said, shrugging her shoulders as she looked back at Wendy. And drop all the formalities, makes me feel old. Okay, Ashley. Wendy said in a somewhat uncertain tone as she glanced at the ramshackle buildings all around her. I wanted to ask, if all types of magic have been banned, what happened to the people who were naturally able to use it? What are you? They could just give up on it, right? Ashley replied, appearing to be visibly confused by Wendy's questions. More importantly, what the heck do you mean by people who can naturally use magic? It appears that magic is more a thing in this world. Carla mused, which caused Happy to give her a baffled look. Knowing it was best to explain everything to the blue cat, Carla released a light sigh. Magical power is quite limited in this world, that means there's likely nobody who has magic within their body like us. Things that have magical power are substances like lacrima. Those lacrima are combined with tools and everyday items to make magical tools. So, I believe those items are given the generic name of magic. I see. Natsu muttered, stroking his chin as glanced over at Ashley. So mages in this world rely on their magical tools. That's why Ashley used that whip earlier. Oi, quit whispering to each other, we're here. Ashley announced as she stopped in front of a set of stairs that led down into a dimly lit, suspicious-looking room. There's a black market hidden in this basement. We'll need to stock up if we're heading to the capital. A black market. Wendy said in a nervous tone, feeling a shiver run down her spine, knowing that she was about to do something illegal. I guess it can't be helped. We'll be in and out, Wendy. Natsu said with a grin as he patted the blue-haired dragon slayer's head, causing a faint blush to spread across her face. No need to worry. After entering the shady basement, the Earthland fairy tale members quickly selected their own magical tools from the fairly limited selection. Luckily, both Natsu and Wendy were able to find tools that suited them. Natsu found a staff that spewed fire and a spear that could emit short bursts of electricity. Wendy picked out a sealed capsule filled with magic and a small dagger coated with powerful poison magic. After a rather touch-and-go attempt to purchase the magical tools, in which the man running the black market insisted that they were working with the royal army, Natsu and the rest of the group found themselves stopping at a small cafe. Natsu, Wendy, and Ashley quickly got to swapping stories, with the conversation eventually steering toward the blonde asking about the Earthland counterparts to her friends. Ah ha 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 ha. Ashley laughed boisterously, slapping her knee as she nearly fell out of her chair. Wait, you're fucking with me, right? In your world, I write fucking novels. Ah ha 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 ha. I don't even like reading. Steadying herself, Ashley began to slap their table, unable to control her laughter. And ah ha ha. And on top of that, I'm the daughter of a high-class family, and use freaking magical keys? Oh my god, this is too much. Heh, you're pretty loud like loose too. Natsu muttered, but not quiet enough to stop Ashley from hearing him, earning him a death glare from the blonde. Not wanting to start an even bigger scene, Natsu quickly shook his head and apologized. Sorry, it just slipped out. Ashley, I have a question. Wendy said as she pulled out the magical capsule she had bought. how exactly do I use dash? Oi! Put that away, you idiot! Ashley hissed, slapping a hand over Wendy's mouth and hiding the magical tool. Quickly scanning around, Ashley breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that no one had seen the magical item. Listen, you can't just go showing magic in front of other people. You never know who could be working for the Royal Army. Remember what I said, all magic of any kind is banned. I'm sorry, Wendy said as she lowered her head, hiding the magical capsule in the pocket of her skirt. It slipped my mind, I'm not used to magic being taboo like this. It's alright, I know this must be tough for you guys, Ashley said, resting her head on her fist. Those bastards who work for the capital stole away a part of our culture, just so that they could monopolize it for themselves. Don't worry, Ashley, Natsu said with a grin as he leaned across the table, getting uncomfortably close to the blonde. I said we'd defeat the king. Once we do, this world may be able to get its magic back. What the hell kind of nonsense are you spouting? Ashley stuttered out, her face flushing slightly. Just focus on saving your friends and getting the hell out of Idolas. Don't worry about us, it's not your fight. It became my fight when these bastards stole my friends and mates, Natsu said in a serious tone as his eyes narrowed slightly. When I see this king of yours, I'll dash. There they are. Block the town's exits. We've found the fairy tale members. The Royal Army, Ashley exclaimed, bolting out of her seat when she saw a large group of armor-clad soldiers marching toward them. How the fuck did they find us so fast? That rat running the black market must have sold us out. Shit, we can't run this time. We'll have to fight, Natsu shouted as he charged toward the soldiers, pulling out his magical staff. Okay, let's see what this thing can do. Aiming the staff at the soldiers, Natsu was pushed back slightly as it bellowed out a massive stream of vibrant orange flames. A smirk spread across the pink-haired dragon slayer's face as he watched the intense flames wash over the soldiers. However, as the flames started to die down, Natsu's elation was dashed when he saw that the soldiers were completely unharmed. The soldiers at the front had used magical shields, completely blocking all of his flames. If fire won't work, how about? Natsu yelled, grabbing the spear off his back and sprinting toward the soldiers. With the spear crackling with electricity, Natsu leaped into the air and slammed it into the ground. Lightning! A split second later, the spear unleashed a large shockwave of electricity which slammed into the soldiers. Unlike before, Natsu's attack did have a minor effect, sending some of the soldiers with shields skidding back and even toppling a few of them over. However, the soldiers were far from defeated and quickly reformed their ranks. Oh, come on, man. Those shields are totally cheating. Natsu, let me help. Wendy grunted as she struggled to open her magical capsule, tugging on it as hard as she could. After a few strong pulls, Wendy heard a click and her eyes lit up as the capsule opened. Hey, I got it, dash. Wendy was cut off as a deafening whistling sound, like a rushing wind, filled the area. In an instant, a massive amount of wind began to swirl around Wendy's capsule, before it formed a massive cyclone. While causing a lot of extra chaos and damage, Wendy's magical item did have the desired effect, blowing away the soldiers who had surrounded them. Amidst the confusion and disorder, Natsu and the others managed to slip away, taking refuge in an abandoned store. We got away for now, but we'll never get out of town like this, Ashley said, watching a group of soldiers run by through a small hole in the wall. We've got to come up with another plan. Man, the magic in this world sure is inconvenient. Natsu grumbled as he tossed away his used-up staff and spear, with Wendy nodding in agreement. It's gonna be tough to fight with stuff like this. There may be another way out of town, Ashley said, backing away from the wall and humming as she thought. Give me a second to dash. Hey! I found one of them. It's fairy tale. Instantly, the entire group perked up when they heard this, making their way over toward the door and cracking it open slightly. Peeking through the gap, Natsu's eyes widened in shock when he spotted Lucy, his Lucy, being apprehended by the soldiers from earlier. The pink-haired dragon slayer tightly balled his fists as he listened to Lucy try in vain to reason with the soldiers. However, Natsu felt his blood boil when he saw one of the soldiers roughly grab Lucy's arm, causing her to wince in pain. Before Ashley or Wendy could say a word, Natsu had bolted out of the store and was sprinting toward the soldiers, hell-bent on protecting his mate. However, as Natsu got closer, he saw Lucy shove one of the soldiers away and pull out one of her celestial gate keys. The pink-haired dragon slayer was prepared to jump in when the key didn't work, but he was surprised to see it suddenly start to shine. "Open the gate of the scorpion!" Lucy exclaimed as she raised her glowing key into the air. "Scorpio! We are!" Scorpio cheered, materializing next to Lucy in a flash of blinding golden light. The Idolos soldiers stared at the celestial spirit in utter shock as he aimed his tail blaster at them. Sand blaster! All the soldiers around Lucy were instantly blown away by a large spiral of blistering wind and sand. Letting out a cocky laugh, Scorpio rested his hands on his hips, starting to shimmer as his gate was closed. "Ha! What a bunch of pushovers! No way, Luce can still use magic!" Natsu exclaimed with a massive grin as he excitedly started to sprint toward his mate once again. "Luce! What?" Lucy said in a surprised tone, her large brown eyes immediately lighting up when she spotted several of her friends. "Everyone!" Your dash! Lucy was stopped when Natsu suddenly embraced her, passionately pressing his lips against hers. Ashley's jaw fell open in shock as she watched her counterpart and Natsu lovingly kiss, proving that the pink-haired dragon slayer had been telling the truth about them dating. After a few more moments, Natsu broke their lip lock, with Lucy staring at him with a goofy smile and half-lidded eyes. "I missed you too, Natsu. I'm so glad you're safe, Luce," Natsu said in a relieved tone as he hugged Lucy tightly, with her returning his embrace. "I was so worried something may have happened to you. There they are. Don't let them get away. Capture them. You two will have to hump later," Ashley said, quickly separating Lucy and Natsu as another group of soldiers rushed toward them. "We've got more company. Why are you worried about them?" Lucy asked as she hugged Natsu's arm, squashing it between her massive breasts. "Natsu can just blast them all away." Luce, I kind of can't use magic right now," Natsu explained, causing Lucy's head to snap toward him, her eyes full of shock. "Don't look at me like that, I don't know why either." "It's true, Lucy," Wendy said as she balled her fists in frustration. "You're the only one who can use magic right now. You need to take out those soldiers." Well, would you look at that, seems like I'm the strongest right now," Lucy said with a smirk, releasing Natsu's arm and cracking her knuckles. The pink-haired dragon slayer merely chuckled and said nothing, letting his mate have her moment to shine. "Don't worry, I'll protect you guys." Grabbing her keyring, Lucy grabbed one of her newest golden keys. "Open the gate of the ram. Ares." In a flash of golden light, Ares appeared in front of Lucy, appearing to be quite skittish. "You've got this, Ares." What is going on?" Ashley muttered as she stared at her Earthland counterpart in surprise, unable to comprehend what was happening. "Is this really magic?" A person appeared. "No. It's a demon. Whatever it is, kill it." I'll do my best," Ares said nervously, tugging on the edge of her skirt. With a sweeping motion, Ares unleashed a swirling wall of fleece. Wool bomb. Watching the soldiers be swept away, many of them seemingly enjoying the experience, Ares cocked her head in confusion. Ha! Now's our chance," Lucy exclaimed as she pointed down an empty road. "Let's get away from here." "Nice job, Luce," Natsu said with a grin, before grabbing his mate's hand and leading her away down the street. "You were totally awesome." "Yeah, that was so amazing, Lucy," Wendy complimented as she ran next to the busty blonde. "You handled those soldiers like they were nothing." That was actually pretty cool," Lucy said, pressing a hand against her flushed face. "Is this how you feel all the time, Natsu? So, this is the magic of Earthland," Ashley muttered as she spared one last glance at the scattered and defeated soldiers before following after Natsu and the others. It's on a completely different level. 1 hour later, forest somewhere in Idolas. And so, at that moment, when the anima absorbed Magnolia, Horologium saved me. Lucy finished explaining what had happened to her before she found herself in Idolas. He told me that he had sensed like the space was being twisted or something like that. He stored me in another space for a while. Then, when he let me out, I found myself completely alone in the middle of nowhere. But out of nowhere, Mystigan found me. He told me about the circumstances and sent me to this world. Mystigan. Natsu muttered as he quirked an eyebrow, his intrigue being piqued. Why wasn't he sucked into Idolas like the rest of us? Who the hell is he really? We still don't know why only Lucy can use magic in Idolas. Happy pointed out, hopping up onto the log Lucy was sitting on. It doesn't make any sense. That fight earlier was a nice power trip, but... Lucy admitted with a light sigh as she glanced over at her pink-haired mate. We're going to be at a serious disadvantage with Natsu and Wendy not being able to use magic. Are you guys seriously still going to fight the royal army? Ashley asked in a skeptical tone, glancing between the Earthland fairy tale members. I know you want to save your friends, but this is seriously suicidal. I mean, you guys can't even use magic properly. Excuse me. I can totally still use my magic. Lucy exclaimed as she glared at her Idolas counterpart, feeling completely insulted by her comment. TCH, is this chick seriously supposed to be me? How the hell can she go out in public wearing something like that? Is she a slut? This bitch. Ashley thought, narrowing her eyes and returning Lucy's glare. She's thinking some disrespectful shit about me, isn't she? Well, that settles it. Lucy cheered with a cocky smile as she stood up, locking eyes with Ashley the entire time. Under our current circumstances, let me, Fairy Tale's strongest mage, take care of this. I'm getting fired up. She really is on a power trip. I won't cramp her mood, for now. Natsu thought, chuckling to himself as he scratched his cheek. I'm glad she used my catchphrase though. You can do it, Lucy. Wendy said with a large smile as she clapped her hands together. I believe in you. Aye, sir. Happy exclaimed, excitedly leaping into the air several times. Lucy's got this. I suppose we don't have any other choice. Carla said as she released a light sigh, pinching the bridge of her nose. We're relying on you, Lucy. These guys, they're so weird. Ashley thought, watching the Earthland fairy tale mages hype Lucy up, the blonde celestial spirit mage basking in their praises. But you know, if it's these weirdos, I feel like they really can change the world. Chapter 53: The Despicable King of Idolas. 2 hours later, hotel within the town of Shika. Oi! You guys, gotta check this out. Ashley exclaimed excitedly as she darted out of the bathroom, her hair still wet and her body loosely wrapped in only a small white bath towel. Wendy's eyes widened in shock and her face instantly flushed bright red in embarrassment. Natsu nearly fell out of his chair, completely caught off guard by the busty blonde brazenly flaunting her tantalizing body. This is so wild. This chick's body is the same as mine too. Even our asses are the exact same. Staring down at her impressive bust, Ashley paused for a moment and cupped her breasts. With a pondering look, Ashley bounced her breasts in her hands. Although, now that I'm really looking at them, her tits may be a bit bigger than mine. Ugh, would you hurry up and get back in here? Lucy groaned, tucking in her own towel as she followed Ashley out of the washroom. Gripping Ashley's arm, Lucy tried to coerce her back into the restroom. Let's just finish our bath, you're bothering Natsu and Wendy. Seeing her mate's flustered expression, Lucy shot him an annoyed look. Don't you dare get any funny ideas, Natsu. Hey! Give me a little credit. I would never think of making a move on Ashley. She likes my Idolas counterpart. Natsu exclaimed as he regained his composure, but was unable to hide his reddened cheeks. The pink-haired dragon slayer did his best not to ogle Ashley, wildly gesturing to her practically naked body. But cut me some slack, Luce. I mean, look at her. She's sexy as hell, just like you. Lucy couldn't but feel a rush of happiness because of Natsu's accidental compliment, a small smile spreading across her face. It'd be weird if I didn't look at her. Huh, now this is unexpected. I thought little Miss Prissy Princess would be all embarrassed about a boy seeing her naked. Ashley said as she stepped toward Lucy, a teasing smirk plastered on her face. Don't tell me, have you and Natsu done? Leaning in even closer, Ashley's devious smirk widened as she wriggled her eyebrows at Lucy. It? Are you 12? Lucy scoffed, quirking an eyebrow and crossing her arms underneath her chest. Natsu's eyes were firmly glued to both blonde's bountiful towel-covered breasts, watching as they grew dangerously close to squashing together. You already know that Natsu and I are dating, so I don't see any point hiding it. Yes, Natsu and I have had sex. Quite a few times actually. Oh ho! Are you really bragging about how many times you've banged, Natsu? Ashley asked as she stroked her chin, before glancing over at the pink-haired dragon slayer. Natsu felt a rush of embarrassment, seeing the curious and ravenous look Ashley was giving him. So, I gotta ask, how was he in the sack? Now you've got my intrigue piqued. Ugh, when did you turn into a horny old man? Lucy said, releasing a light sigh and rolling her eyes. When Lucy spared a glance over at Wendy, she couldn't help but chuckle, seeing steam practically billowing out of the blue-haired dragon's ears with her entire face burning a vibrant shade of red. Coughing her fist to suppress her laugh, Lucy shot Ashley an annoyed look. I am not discussing my sex life with you. I don't care if you're an alternate version of me. Oh come on noon. Ashley drawled out as she got a bit closer and wrapped an arm around Lucy's shoulders, whispering into her alternate self's ear. Your Natsu looks a hell of a lot like mine, and I'm sure they share a lot of similarities, if you catch my drift. Lucy's eyes widened slightly, fully understanding what specific information Ashley wanted to know. If I ever do get a shot with Natsu, I want to know what to expect. Fine. Lucy relented, slowly shaking her head before making her way back to the bathroom. If you want to hear all the dirty details, get your ass back into the bath so that we can finish washing. Yahoo! This is gonna be fun. Ashley cheered as she pumped her fists into the air, causing her massive breasts to bounce around violently, her towel threatening to fall off at any second. This time, Natsu did fall backward out of his chair, a thin trail of blood leaking from his nose. Wendy squeaked in surprise seeing the pink-haired dragon slayer collapse, quickly rushing over to check on him. In her excitement, Ashley began to push Lucy into the bath, eager to get all the naughty details she could. We'll out in bit guys, so just chill out here. Come on, Natsu. I'll help you back up. Wendy said in a concerned tone, helping the frazzled pink-haired dragon slayer back into his chair. With a groan, Natsu dropped back into his seat, hiding his head in his hands. Natsu, are you okay? Two Lucis, in skimpy towels, that is a dangerous combo. Natsu murmured before he leaned back in his chair and stared up at the ceiling. Sorry if I worried you, Wendy. I'm fine, really. Good lord, why am I surrounded by horny teenagers? Carla groaned, releasing a heavy sigh and pinching the bridge of her nose. With Wendy being around these perverts constantly, it's only a matter of time before they corrupt her too. I already see the way she stares at that pink-haired gorilla. PFFFTT. Happy giggled to himself as he watched both blondes disappear into the bathroom. Things sure are lively with two Lucis. Things were relatively calm for almost 10 minutes, with Natsu managing to get his raging lust back under control. Wendy was still rather flustered by the whole spectacle, but despite her embarrassment, a part of her wanted to join in on the raunchy conversation going down in the bath. The blue-haired dragon slayer may have been completely experienced when it came to physical and intimate romance, but the subject did tend to pique her curiosity. So with her enhanced hearing, Wendy tried to listen in on what Lucy was saying, but couldn't quite hear what was being said in the bath. She did however catch Ashley occasionally laughing or gasping her surprise. However, as Wendy strained her ears to try and pick up on any specific things Lucy was stating, she quirked an eyebrow when everything in the bath suddenly went silent. Then, Wendy heard the distinct sounds of some quickly standing up in the bath, followed by a completely unanticipated shout from Ashley. There is no fucking way his cock is that big. Wendy seemingly began to choke on air, sputtering and coughing violently as her entire body seemed like it was about to catch on fire with how red she was. Natsu almost fell out of his chair for a third time as his entire body whipped around to face the bathroom, his face a mixture of utter embarrassment and discomfort. Like, how the hell is that even supposed to fit inside you? Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Natsu screamed in his head as he resisted the almost overwhelming urge to sprint out of the room and jump off a bridge. The pink-haired dragon slayer glanced over at Wendy and saw that the poor girl looked as if she were about to pass out. Natsu then turned his attention toward Happy and Carla. The blue cat looked as if he was about to explode from holding in his laughter, his cheeks puffed out with the occasional giggle slipping out. Carla, on the other hand, looked completely mortified as she fiercely glared at Natsu. Fuck me, Carla is never going to let this one go. Did you really have to yell like that? I swear, everyone in the whole hotel just heard you. Lucy said in an exasperated tone, now fully dressed and still drying her hair as she stepped out of the bathroom. However, as Lucy stepped back into the living area and brushed some hair out of her eyes, she saw that everyone was staring at him. Oh, hey guys, I'm guessing you heard that? Natsu and Wendy simply nodded in response, both of them too flustered to speak. God damn it, you have the biggest mouth. Would it have killed you to dial it back just a little bit? Oi, don't be getting snippy with me, bitch, I will lay you out in a second. Ashley snapped as she strolled out of the bathroom in her normal outfit, tossing away her damp towel. And can you fucking blame? Plopping down cross-legged in a chair, Ashley pointed directly at Natsu. I didn't know this son of a bitch was packing a goddamn third leg. If my Natsu is even half as big, I've got quite a lot to look forward to. Oh my god, why do you have to be so crude? Lucy groaned, running her hands down her face. Noticing that Natsu was giving her a pleading look, Lucy released a heavy sigh and rested her hands on her hips. Can we please, for the love of God, talk about literally anything else? Sure, you bunch of prudes. Looks like Chibi Wendy over there is about to faint anyways. Ashley said as she rubbed the back of her head, feeling a tad bit guilty for causing such an awkward situation. However, as Ashley stared at her alternate self's scowling face, something odd about the blonde celestial spirit mage's appearance caught her attention. Hey, with all the shit that's been happening the past few hours, I didn't really notice until now, but what the hell's up with those pink streaks in your hair? And I swear, I saw a fucking wicked tattoo on your shoulder when we were in the bath. I would never have thought a princess like you would have any ink. About those. Lucy said, struggling to think of a way to answer Ashley's question. Instinctively reaching up to touch her mate Mark, Lucy glanced over at Natsu for support. Can I tell her? It's not my call to make, Luce. If you want to tell her, I won't stop you. Natsu replied as he ran a hand through his spiky pink hair. I only told her that we're dating, anything else you want to tell her is up to you. Oh my. Did I stumble upon an interesting subject? Ashley asked in a teasing tone, mimicking Natsu's mannerisms from when he had razzied her earlier in the day. Leaning forward in her seat, Ashley rested her head in her palm. You already told me about your amazing sex life, what other juicy details could you possibly be hiding? Alright, I'll tell you. Lucy said as she walked over and sat down next to Natsu, twirling some pink hair around her finger. You'd probably find out eventually, so I don't really see a reason to hide it. First, I have to ask, are there dragons in Idolas? Dragons? That's a weird question. Ashley replied, quirking an eyebrow in confusion. I mean, there are legends about dragons existing thousands of years ago, but everyone knows they're just fairy tales. Well, that may be true for Idolas, but in Earthland dragons do exist, or at least they did. Lucy explained as she reached over and gently grabbed Natsu's hand, feeling him tense slightly at the mention of dragons disappearing. And some of those dragons taught humans their magic, and those humans became known as dragon slayers. Natsu was one of those dragon slayers. No way! Ashley exclaimed, her eyes lighting up in excitement as she turned to face the pink-haired dragon slayer. Were you seriously taught magic by a real dragon? Yeah, two actually, their names were Igneel and Valinor, and they were like a father and brother to me. Natsu replied with a sad smile, tightly gripping the fabric of his pants with his free hand. But they both disappeared 7 years ago without a word. I've been looking for them ever since. Damn, that's heavy. Ashley said as her excitement quickly waned, acutely aware that she had brought up a difficult subject for Natsu. Sorry about bringing up painful memories. They aren't painful. I still love Igneel and Valinor, and I know they wouldn't abandon me without a good reason. Natsu said, giving Lucy's hand a quick squeeze. I'll find them both one day and make them explain why they disappeared. We'll help you find them, Natsu. Everyone in Fairy Tale will help. Wendy cheered as she flashed the pink-haired dragon slayer a bright smile. If we find Igneel and Valinor, then we'll definitely find Grandini too. Hold on a second, is this little pipsqueak one of those dragon slayers too? Ashley asked, gesturing toward Wendy, which garnered an enthusiastic nod from the blue-haired dragon slayer. Get the fuck out here. That kicks ass, chibi Wendy. With a toothy grin, Ashley turned her attention back toward Lucy. So, I get that Natsu was raised by dragons, but what's that got to do with your hair being pink? Well, dragon slayers take on some dragon-like traits, like enhanced senses of smell and hearing. They also take part in the same mating rituals as dragons. Lucy stated as her face flushed slightly, feeling her cheeks starting to heat up. One thing about dragon mating is that they pick one partner to mate with for life. Once a dragon has chosen its destined mate, they mark them to signal to other dragons that they've been claimed. Brushing her hair aside, Lucy leaned forward so that Ashley could get a better look at her mate mark. That tattoo you saw is actually a mate mark, and it tells others that Natsu has claimed me as his mate. The pink hair is a part of that as well. Damn, that's wild. Ashley exclaimed, slapping her knee and looking between Natsu and Lucy several times. So, you two are basically bonded for life. Yes, the mate mark helps us sense each other's presence. It's also allowed me to gain senses similar to a dragon slayer but to a lesser degree. Also, it's only happened once, but it seems that I'm briefly able to tap into Natsu's magical power because a small amount of it is stored in my mate mark. Lucy explained, which caused Ashley to let out an impressed whistle. There's one other thing, Natsu isn't quite like other dragon slayers. You see, Igneel and Valinor were both dragon kings, and mating works a bit differently for them. Shit, I should have made some popcorn. Ashley said with a smirk, eagerly leaning forward in her seat. This is getting really interesting. You see, dragon kings have an instinctual drive to pass their magic on to their offspring. Lucy continued as she paused for a moment, taking a deep breath to prepare herself for what she was about to reveal. Because of this desire to pass down their magic, dragon kings would often take several mates, and since Natsu was raised by 2 dragon kings, that instinct is applied double for him. Wait, are you telling me that because Natsu inherited some ancient super magic from 2 dragons, that he gets to have a harem? Ashley asked, causing Natsu to nod his head. Letting out a long exhale, Ashley sat back in her seat, processing everything she had just learned. Okay, that's fucking nuts. So, you probably know what my next question is gonna be, is Natsu dating more than one girl? Including me, Natsu currently has 3 mates, technically 4 I guess, but I don't know if the 4th girl counts. Lucy answered as she rubbed the back of her neck. And I'm sure there will be more girls, a lot more. How the hell does something like that even work? Ashley asked, before standing up and moving closer to Natsu and Lucy, sitting on the edge of a table in front of them. I would expect you girls to be at each other's throats, or to be kicking his ass. I didn't like the idea of sharing Natsu at first, but over time, I've come to love it. Lucy said as she turned to Natsu and gave him a loving smile, gently squeezing his hand. Because of the mate marks, I feel a strong connection to Natsu and his other mates. It's like we're sisters and share an unbreakable bond. I don't know, it's hard to explain without experiencing it yourself. But I love Natsu and I don't regret becoming his mate. I wouldn't change a thing in our relationship. Look Ashley, I know you probably think it's scummy of me to be dating more than one girl, and I don't blame you for that. Natsu spoke as he got out of his seat and stood in front of Ashley, locking eyes with her. But I want you to know that I love Luce and my other girls with every fiber of my being. I'd do anything to keep them safe and happy. Heh, that sounds like something my Natsu would say when he was trying to act cool. Ashley said, looking away and chuckling to herself. And I know you love your Lucy. It was obvious the moment I saw you two together. I never doubted the feelings you have for her. I'm sure you love those other girls just as much. You don't seem like the type of guy to go around breaking women's hearts. Good, if you understand, then don't get mad when I say this. Natsu said as he reached over and placed a hand on Ashley's shoulders. I went through the exact situation you're in with my second mate. We both grew up together and I knew we had feelings for each other, but she loved another guy as well. But I never gave up on her and fought hard for her love. You have to do the same thing. If you truly love your Natsu, don't give up on him so easily if he doesn't reciprocate your feelings right away. And in the end, if he's still torn between his feelings for you and Nightwalker, at least consider sharing him with her. Natsu saw anger flash through Ashley's eyes but cut her off before she could lash out at him. I'm just saying you keep it as a possibility. If your Natsu really has feelings for both you and Nightwalker, he won't want to hurt either of you. And in the end, he may not pick either of you to avoid hurting the other. Goddamn, that is totally something he would do. He's too much of a pussy to make tough decisions like that. Ashley said, gritting her teeth in frustration as she crossed her arms underneath her chest. After a few moments of mulling over what Natsu had said, Ashley released a light sigh. Fuck, alright, I'll at least consider it. I may hate that bitch Nightwalker, but I love Natsu even more. So for him, I think I could tolerate sharing. But if I can convince him to forget his feelings for that cunt, I'm taking that chance to steal him away from her and keep him all to myself. Good, I'm glad you'll at least give it a chance. Natsu said with a smile as he patted Ashley's shoulder. I'm sure everything will out between you and your Natsu. I sure hope so. Ashley said with a small smile, glancing over at her alternate self and appearing to be pondering something. After a few moments, Ashley walked over and rested her hands on her hips. Hey, since we look damn near identical, I don't want to confuse people, especially my guildmates. I may know what's up with your whack hair, but they won't. I want a way to quickly distinguish each other to avoid any mix-ups. You said that one of your spirits can give haircuts, right? Yeah, Cancer can do that. Lucy said as he grabbed her keyring, singling out Cancer's golden key. With a flash of light, the celestial spirit materialized in front of Lucy. Then, in one swift motion of his scissors, Cancer snipped Ashley's hair, cutting it to just above her shoulders. Wow, there won't be any confusion now. But are you sure this is okay? Why wouldn't it be? Ashley asked, running a hand through her now shortened hair. Are there customs in your world about treasuring hair? Not really. Lucy replied as she stroked her own hair. I just thought most girls treasured their hair in some way. Girls, huh? Well, I don't stress about the differences between boys and girls. Ashley explained, smiling and shrugging her shoulders. Most people in this world are trying hard just to live their lives. Everyone in your guild looked so happy. Happy pointed out as he looked up at Ashley. Are things really that bad? Of course, we looked happy because if you don't force yourself to laugh, then your heart would break in no time. Ashley explained, crouching down and patting Happy's head. Also, there are people who need us in this world. That's why even though we've been labeled a dark guild, we all must stay together, just like a guild should. Chuckling grimly to herself, Ashley stared down at the floor, speaking her next words barely above a whisper. But, I suppose that's just not good enough. The following morning. What? I don't believe this. Lucy yelled as she stormed over and slammed something onto a table, startling Natsu out of his sleep. What the hell is this? Ugh, could you please not yell first thing in the morning, Luce? Natsu groaned, rubbing the sleep out of his eyes as he sat up on couch he had used as a bed. So, what's got you so worked up? Ito lost me ran away. Lucy exclaimed as she shook a piece of paper in front of Natsu's face. I found this on the dresser. The royal city is to the east, about 3 days on foot. I'm going back to my guild. See ya later and good luck. Natsu read the letter out loud, before groaning and laying back down on the couch. That sucks, but at least she told us where to go. I thought she was going to help us out. Lucy scathed as she crumpled up the note and tossed it aside, gritting her teeth in frustration. Damn it! The nerve of her! Aren't you two basically the same person? Happy asked, causing Lucy to whip around to face the blue cat. You're kind of insulting yourself right now. You better shut your mouth, cat. Because I am in no mode for your jokes. Lucy scathed as she shook her balled fist at Happy. I will not hesitate to punch you out of this damn hotel room. Please calm down, Lucy. I know this is unfortunate, but this can't be helped. Wendy tried to reason, attempting to ease the blonde spirit mage's anger. From the very beginning, Ashley made it clear that she had no intention of fighting with us. No way. I can't forgive. Lucy yelled as she shook her head, clenching her fists in disdain. As a different version of her, I can't let her off so easily. I know you're pissed, Luce, but we don't have time to worry about that stuff right now. Natsu said in a sympathetic tone, patting his mate on the shoulder before grabbing some of his stuff off the couch. We should get going soon. I'll wash up, then we can head out. As Natsu and the other members of Earthland Fairy Tale prepared to depart, Ashley was busy hurrying through the streets of Shika. Lucy's Idolus counterpart had a determined look in her eyes as sped through the crowded avenues. Her ultimate goal was to return to her guild. They may be able to change the world? Ha! That's some wishful thinking on my part. Ashley thought as she hid her face and ducked into an alley, avoiding a patrol of Royal Army guards. If we really want this world to change, then we need to work hard on our own. If they can rescue their friends on their own, that's fine, but they'll have a tough time fighting against the kingdom. So, I need to convince everyone at the guild to help. It's time for us to take up arms and fight together. 45 minutes later, streets of Shika. Wow, her mood did a complete 180. Wendy said, watching as Lucy smiled brightly and hummed to herself, hugging a book against her chest. I guess she's happy that she found a rare book. How could I not be excited? Lucy asked as she turned to face her friends, continuing to walk backward. This historical archive will tell us all about this world. It's actually a pretty interesting place. For example, opening the book up, Lucy rapidly flipped through the pages. Oh, here. Over 100 years ago, a race known as the Exceed used to live here. Luce, I'm glad that you're excited about Natsu was cut off when a massive shadow began to creep over them, eventually covering the entire street. Instantly, Natsu stood protectively in front of his friends as they all looked up into the sky overhead. They were surprised to see a large airship descending, soon landing and unloading a fresh wave of Royal Army soldiers. Damn it, they sent reinforcements to look for us. Hurry up. We're departing at once. We really need to hide. Wendy hissed in a panic, pushing Natsu and Lucy into a nearby alley as more and more soldiers got off the airship. As Wendy poked her head out to observe the soldiers, her enhanced hearing picked up a conversation two of the higher-ranking soldiers were having. Wait, those two are talking about something important. They mentioned a giant lacrima extraction in 2 days, and missing out on the event of the century if they're later. Giant lacrima. Natsu muttered as his brow furrowed, crossing his arms over his chest. They have to be talking Magnolia. 2 days until the extraction, that's really bad. If we walk, there's no way we'll make it in time. Lucy gasped, a chill running down her spine at the thought of them failing to save their friends. What's going to happen to everyone if we don't make it? If they complete the extraction? Carla said as she stared down at the ground, tightly gripping the hem of her dress. We'll never be able to return everyone to their original forms. Screw walking. Natsu said, looking out and watching as the airship slowly began to take off. We should steal that airship. Isn't the plan usually to sneak onto the ship? Carla corrected with a huff as she shook her head. I swear, you are too hot-headed. I don't really do sneaky. Natsu said with a grin, punching his fist into his palm. I'm more about busting heads. I never thought you'd actually want to ride on a vehicle, Natsu. Happy pointed out as he tugged on the pink-haired dragon slayer's pant leg. What about your motion sickness? I'll just deal with it. Natsu said, his face turning a bit blue as a shiver ran down his spine. That airship is our best shot. So, I'll risk puking my guts out if it gets us to the capital faster. Natsu is right, we need to go for it. Lucy said with a smirk as she patted her mate on the shoulder. We won't make it if we don't steal that thing. How are we going to do that though? Wendy asked, watching a large patrol of soldiers walk underneath the airship. Natsu and I can't use magic and there's a lot of soldiers out there. I'll handle it. I'm in my element right now. Lucy said with a smug smile as grabbed her celestial spirit keys. I realized this when we fought those soldiers yesterday. I'm pretty sure Earthland's magic is far more advanced than any magic here in Idolas. Considering that they rely solely on magic tools, that does make sense. Natsu said, stroking his chin before a grin spread across his face. Alright, let's do this. Wendy and I will back you up, Luce. Do you still have that poison dagger, Wendy? Yeah, but I lost my wind capsule after I used it yesterday. Wendy said as she reached into her skirt pocket and pulled out the small, dark purple blade. I don't know how effective this thing will be though. I may only be able to use it a few times. Well, I don't have my spear or fire staff anymore, they were both burnt out in our fight yesterday. Natsu said, before reaching out and patting Wendy's head. Aside from Luce, you've got our only source of magic, Wendy. We're gonna be counting on you. You're right. Wendy cheered with a bright smile as she clutched the dagger against her chest. I'll do my best. Okay, if we're ready, I'll head out first. Lucy exclaimed, grabbing a particular key and dashing out of the alley, with Natsu and Wendy following closely behind her. Let's do this, guys. We need to get that airship. Hey! Who are you guys? This is a restricted area. Leave now. Open the door of the lion. Lucy chanted as the celestial gate key began to glow brightly with shimmering golden light. With one swift motion, a flash of light materialized in front of Lucy. Lockdash, however, Lucy's eyes widened in shock when she noticed that the wrong celestial spirit had been summoned. Virgo. What the hell? Sorry to keep you waiting, princess. Virgo said in a monotone voice, turning to Lucy and performing a slight bow. I've come to assist you. What is going on here? Lucy hissed as she felt a sudden rush of panic and embarrassment, watching the Royal Army soldiers stare at her in confusion. I summoned Loke, not you. Big Brother is on a date right now, so he cannot be summoned presently. Virgo explained, performing another quick bow. He gives his humblest apologies. Be brother. Lucy exclaimed in confusion as she noticed that the soldiers had recovered from their bewilderment and were advancing toward them. Since when was he your brother? Leo-sama ordered that I call him that from now on. Virgo replied without missing a beat, appearing to be quite befuddled by Loke's request. I don't understand why though. That perverted sunglasses-wearing idiot. Lucy growled as her face burned red in a mixture of anger and shame. The next time I see him, I'm going to kick his ass. Hey! That woman is Lucy. Capture all of them. What should I do now? Lucy asked herself, her mind racing as she tried to think of a new plan. My whole idea was to have Loke blow all these guys away. I can't summon Aquarius or Scorpio, they're on a date too and she'll murder me if I interrupt it. Aries can't take out all these soldiers by herself. And I don't have enough magic left to summon Taurus. What am I gonna do? Excuse me, princess, but I am prepared to go all out. Virgo said in a deadly serious tone as she struck an odd pose. I will perform a dance and distract these men. Use that opportunity to strike. You get the hell out of here. Lucy exclaimed as she performed a quick swipe with Virgo's key, closing her celestial gate. The blonde celestial spirit mage squeaked in surprise when she saw that the soldiers were drawing closer. Guys! This isn't looking good. Looks like we need to step in, Wendy. Natsu yelled, charging toward the soldiers and letting out a defiant roar. As Natsu drew closer, the soldiers attempted to jab him with their spears. But the pink-haired dragon slayer displayed his incredible reflexes, sliding underneath the spear thrusts and pouncing on the first soldier in front of him. Cocking his arm back, Natsu hit the soldier with 3 rapid punches to the face, knocking him unconscious. With a smirk, dodged another spear thrust and stole the soldier's weapon, snapping it over his knee. You don't fight against Urza Scarlet for almost a decade and not pick up some sick hand-to-hand combat skills. I'll help too. Wendy exclaimed as she charged in as well, vaulting over 2 soldiers' attacks and slashing them in the back with her dagger. The cuts weren't very deep, but the poison on the dagger was fact-acting. Within seconds, the soldiers Wendy had cut collapsed to the ground, twitching slightly as the poison rendered them completely immobile. With her eyes wide in surprise, Wendy stared down at her dagger. Whoa, I was not expecting this thing to be so effective. Wendy, look out! Natsu roared, before dashing over and tackling a soldier that was about to attack the blue-haired dragon slayer from behind. With a feral growl rumbling in his throat, Natsu grabbed the back of the soldier's head, before slamming his face directly into the ground. Leaping off the unconscious soldier, Natsu sprang toward his next target. After successfully dodging the soldier's sword swing, Natsu grabbed his arm and kicked the trooper in the stomach. With all the air knocked out of him, the soldier collapsed to the ground. You need to pay attention, Wendy. If you space out in a fight, you're gonna end up in big trouble. Right. Wendy shouted as she rolled away from a spear thrust, before launching forward and slashing through a group of 4 soldiers. As the poisoned soldiers crumpled to the ground, Wendy spotted another batch charging toward her and Natsu. More are coming. We can't keep fighting these guys forever. Shit, these bastards are like cockroaches. They just keep coming, no matter how many we take out. Natsu grunted, grabbing one of the soldiers by his shoulders and hitting him with a devastating headbutt. The soldier's eyes rolled into the back of his head as he fell to the dirt. Hearing another soldier coming up behind him, Natsu sidestepped a sloppy spear thrust. With a devious smirk, Natsu slapped away the soldier's weapon, before rearing his leg back and hitting the trooper with a powerful kick to the groin. Howling in pain, the soldier was seeing stars and he collapsed, grasping his throbbing family jewels. Cup shot. Ah ha ha. You guys may have the numbers advantage, but you're all weak as hell. Natsu. This isn't the time to be having fun. Lucy exclaimed as she pointed into the sky. Whipping, Natsu's eyes widened in surprise when he saw that the airship was taking off. We need to hurry or we won't make it. Okay, we'll dash. As soon as the words left Natsu's mouth, the airship rose higher into the air and took off. Growling in frustration, Natsu charged the nearest soldier and hit him with a violent knee to the face. Starting to pant lightly, Natsu tightly balled his fists as soldiers surrounded him. God damn it! However, as the soldiers started to advance toward Natsu, a piercing, screeching sound echoed out from down the street. A revving engine could be heard as a figure cloaked in dust drew closer. What the hell is that thing? The Earthland Fairy Tale members were shocked when a magical four-wheeler suddenly performed a powerslide and barreled through a large group of soldiers. Each soldier that magical vehicle hit was sent flying away. The magical car's engine roared to life as its wheels spun in place, kicking up a large cloud of smoke. Screeching tires echoed out as the four-wheeler performed several donuts, spewing out large plumes of fire. Any soldiers that weren't blown away by the flames were forced to retreat. Everyone look! Happy exclaimed, wildly gesturing toward the magical four-wheeler. There's a fairy tale symbol on the roof. Hey! I heard what's going on from Lucy. A familiar voice called out from within the four-wheeler as the vehicle came to a screeching stop. Hurry up and pile in. Let's go, guys. Natsu urgently ushered all of his friends into the four-wheeler. Once all of his friends were inside the vehicle, Natsu dove into the back seat. Go! 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 Hang on tight, 'cause we're gonna fly. The person driving the four-wheeler shouted as he slammed his foot onto the gas. The magical vehicle's engine screamed, kicking out a large explosion of fire as it raced down the street. The driver of the four-wheeler laughed hysterically, sticking his arm out the window and flipping off the soldiers they were leaving in their dust. Go! Fire! Man! You really saved us back there," Lucy said, breathing a sigh of relief as she sank down into the front seat. "We were in a real pinch." "Yeah, thank you so much." Wendy cheered as she hugged Carla tightly, poking her head out from behind Lucy's seat. Things weren't looking good, there were so many soldiers. We could have totally handled them." Natsu groaned, all the color draining from his face as he was slammed full force by his motion sickness. Chuckling to herself, Wendy allowed Natsu his head on her lap, gently running her fingers through his hair. Natsu still felt an intense wave of nausea, but Wendy's soothing touch did help ease his pain. Thank, though." "No need to thank me, I'm happy to help. You guys want to get to the royal capital, right? Well, this baby is way faster than that piece of trash airship," the driver said as he turned to face the Earthland fairy tale mages, pulling up the goggles that had been covering his eyes. Everyone, minus Natsu who was too sick, was surprised to see a familiar face staring back at them. "I'm the fastest man in fairy tale, Natsu the Fireball." Idolas Natsu was a well-built man of average height. He had spiky pink hair protruding in all directions. He wore maroon-colored goggles which he had placed on his head. His eyes were noticeably less slit than his Earthland counterpart. Idolas Natsu's attire consisted of a red leather jacket with a white trim located on the sides of his collar and its suspender area. White arm straps were located on the area of his biceps. His jacket also had a belt strap where a white belt was left hanging. In addition, the wrist areas of his sleeves were brazened with a fiery design. He wore blue navy pants with a belt strap where a white belt is seen. Lastly, he wore a pair of dark brown shoes. "Oh, great," Natsu managed to say, fighting back his urge to throw up. It's Idolas, me. Man, this so weird," Idolas Natsu said as he gazed at the Earthland versions of his friends. "Lucy was right, you guys look just like us, and is that supposed to be me?" Edo Natsu scoffed as he gestured toward his alternate self. "What's up with him? He looks seriously pathetic right now." "Our Natsu gets motion sickness whenever he's in a vehicle," Wendy exclaimed, chuckling awkwardly as she continued to comfort the pink-haired dragon slayer. "Did he seriously just call our Natsu pathetic after just meeting him? What's up with this guy, he seems really arrogant. Man, I can't believe that's supposed to be me with a condition like that." Idolas Natsu laughed as he punched the acceleration, racing the magical four-wheeler out of Shika. "In this world, I'm Fairy Tale's magic transportation specialist, known as the Fireball, you know. But to help avoid any confusion, you guys can call me Dragaon." "Hey, wait a second," Happy said, glancing around the inside of the magical four-wheeler. "I don't see an SE plug anywhere? How is this thing moving?" "SE plug?" Dragaon parroted in a confused tone as he glanced back at the blue cat. "What the hell is that?" "A self-energy plug, it converts the driver's magical energy into fuel," Carla explained, looking out the window as the four-wheeler sped through the flatlands outside of town. Since no one in Idolas has magic naturally in their bodies, they have no need for SE plugs. Their vehicles must run purely on magical power. It would seem that their transportation is much more advanced. Carla was cut off as the magical four-wheeler suddenly came to a skidding stop, kicking up a large cloud of dust and knocking the Earthland Fairy Tale members around the vehicle. "Hey! What the hell was that for?" "You're not quite right," Dragaon said as he stopped the engine for the four-wheeler, tightly gripping the steering wheel. "Since magical energy is limited, the amount of fuel that can be converted from magic is also limited. It isn't easy to get a hold of either. That's why this is as far as I'm taking you all. Get out." "Wait. You can't," Wendy exclaimed, feeling a rush of panic as she leaned forward in her seat. "We need to get to the capital as fast as possible to save our guildmates. Sorry, but if I take you any further then I won't be able to make it back to my guild," Dragaon explained as he clicked his tongue and rubbed the back of his head. "Those guys just had to move the guild around without saying anything to me. I'm barely gonna make it back now. Thank God we stopped." Natsu cheered, practically leaping off of Wendy's lap and out of the four-wheeler. With a massive smile, Natsu stretched out his limbs. I never want to ride in that damn thing ever again. See, the other me has the right idea. Dragaon said as he kicked the other Earthland fairy tale mages out of his four-wheeler. Right, off you go. With a grunt, Wendy and Lucy fell out of the vehicle, quickly getting back onto their feet and dusting themselves off. Lucy in particular was pissed off by how rude Dragaon was being, glaring at the pink-haired man. Going up against the kingdom is really stupid. Don't get my guild involved. I only came to bail you guys out because Lucy, my Lucy, asked me to come. I don't want any trouble, I just want to keep driving around in peace. Oi, I've been meaning to say something to you, so, you get out too. Natsu said, walking up to the four-wheeler's front seat and tugging on Dragon's arm. The pink-haired dragon slayer was surprised when Dragaon instantly started to resist him. As my alternate version, I've got something to say to you. And no. What the hell are you doing? Dragaon grunted as he tried to break free of Natsu's grasp, but the dragon slayer proved to be too strong. Jay, just let me go, damn it. Don't take me out of my ride. Calm the hell down, man, I just want to talk to you. Natsu said, finally managing to pull Dragaon out of the four-wheeler. The pink-haired dragon slayer quirked an eyebrow as Dragaon fell to the ground, refusing to get back up. Releasing a light sigh, Natsu crouched down in front of Dragaon. Listen, I get that you don't want to be involved in fighting the kingdom, I don't care about that, but you didn't have to be a dick to me and my friends. Especially kicking them out of the four-wheeler like that, seriously not cool, man. If you apologize to us, everything will be good between us. That, you. Natsu and the other Earthland fairy tale members were shocked to hear Dragaon start sniffling. The pink-haired dragon slayer was caught completely off guard when he saw tears forming in Dragon's eyes. I am sorry about that. Please, don't get mad at me. What the hell? Natsu said in a completely baffled tone as he crossed his arms and leaned closer to Dragaon. His Idolos counterpart gasped in surprise and quickly backed away. Are you seriously the same person from a few minutes ago? Why yeah, I get that a lot. Dragaon said, turning his head to avoid Natsu's analyzing gaze. People say that my personality changes whenever I get in a vehicle. This is more than a 180, he's like a completely different person. Lucy exclaimed in shock before she stormed over, resting her fists on her hips. But Natsu is right. You were so rude earlier. What's up with that? I said I'm sorry, okay? Dragaon cried as he began to tremble, curling his body up into a ball. Please don't use such loud voices. It scares me. And this guy called me pathetic. Natsu thought with a frown, before moving over and helping Dragaon sit back up. With a heavy sigh, Natsu patted his alternate self's back. Okay, calm down, man. We won't yell anymore, so please stop crying. I am sorry about that. Dragaon muttered as he sniffled several times, wiping away his tears. But I was serious before, it's really impossible for me to take you guys any further. I really did only come because Lucy asked me to and I didn't want to upset her. It's fine, really. Wendy said with a small smile, sitting down next to Dragaon. Please don't push yourself too hard. Wow, are you really Wendy-san? Dragaon asked as he stared at the blue-haired dragon slayer in wide-eyed surprise. You're so small and cute. I'm Happy and this is Carla. Happy cheered, gesturing to himself and the white cat next to him. And you already know Natsu and Lucy. Cats, so cute. Dragaon said with a smile as he leaned forward to pet Happy and Carla. However, he stopped dead in his tracks when he saw the annoyed glare Carla was giving. Eek. Never mind. Carla. Be nicer to him. Wendy scolded, scooping up the white cat. He may not have gotten us to the capital, but he did save us from those soldiers. About that. Dragaon said nervously as he pointed toward the edge of a nearby cliff. Natsu, Lucy, and Wendy all looked at each other, before making their way over to the cliff's edge. The Earthland fairy tale mages gasped when they spotted a massive, sprawling city below them. Lucy said that I only needed to bring you guys here. No way is that the capital.
Wendy exclaimed, her eyes widening in shock as she stared at the huge castle in the center of the city.
It's huge. Geez, why didn't you just tell us we were here?
Natsu said with a toothy grin as he wrapped an arm around Drajan's shoulder, making his alternate self feel slightly uncomfortable.
You had us worried there for a minute. I'm sorry.
Dragaon mumbled, nervously wringing his hand together.
I just didn't phrase my words correctly. Awesome, I didn't expect us to get here so quickly.
Natsu said as he patted Drajan's back, gazing out at the sprawling city below them.
We made great time. Somewhere in that city, we'll find everyone who was turned into Lacrima.
Lucy said, clutching a hand over her heart.
Don't worry everyone, we'll save you guys. Well, we should get a move on.
Carla said as she hopped out of Wendy's arms and began to make her way toward the capital.
We don't have time to stand around. Carla's right, let's get going. Wendy said, waving to Dragaon as she followed after the white cat. Thank you for your help, Dragaon. Yeah, you were a huge help. Lucy said with a smile before she dashed after Wendy, waving goodbye to Dragaon as well. Say hi to me for me. Guess, I'll be going too. Natsu said, walking over to Dragaon and flashing his alternate self a grin. You sure you don't want to come along? Are you guys really going to fight the kingdom? Dragaon asked in a nervous tone as he gave Natsu a worried look, his hand trembling slightly. There's no way you guys will win. That may be, but we have to try.
Our friends are down there and they're in danger. Natsu said, reaching out and placing a hand on Drajan's shoulder. If those guys refuse to let them go, then yeah, we'll probably have to fight them. Dragaon looked like he was about to speak up, but paused when he saw the determined look burning in Natsu's eyes. Before I go, when you see Lucy, you're Lucy, she'll probably have something to tell you and make sure you listen to everything she has to say. What? Dragaon said in a confused tone as he quirked an eyebrow. However, as Dragaon stared into Natsu's eyes, he got an idea of what the pink-haired dragon slayer was talking about. I think I get it. Yeah, Lucy and I do have a lot to talk about, especially regarding Urza. Just be honest with her and I'm sure things will work out. Natsu said with another grin, before patting Drajan's shoulder. Turning around, Natsu began to race after his friends. Hopefully we'll see each other again, other me. I don't know how he can be so confident, I hope things work out for those guys. Dragaon thought as he walked back over to his magical four-wheeler. Sliding into the driver's seat, Dragaon turned the engine on and pulled down his goggles. After a quick burnout, Dragaon raced in the direction of his guild. I need to get back to Fairy Tale, Lucy and I have some important things to discuss. 20 minutes later, Idola's royal city. Wow, this place is crazy. Lucy breathed out, gazing at the bustling streets all around her. While magic may have been banned in other parts of Idolas, it seemed to be flowing freely in the capital city. Everywhere she could look, Lucy saw various magical tools and luxury items, a stark contrast to what she saw at Fairy Tale and other cities across Idolas. It's like we're in a completely different world. You would have never thought this country was ruled by a dictator. After what we've seen in other towns, I'd have expected this place to be more run down. Wendy said as she watched two children zoom past her on two miniature horses, using magic power to float in the air. We've even gotten pretty deep into the city. I figured we would have seen some shadier parts of the city by now. It's like this place is fucking amusement park. Natsu grumbled, watching a group of people laugh boisterously around a brightly lit up bar that used magic to pour their drinks. The pink-haired dragon slayer felt a pang of anger, remembering the struggling people in other parts of Idolas. After seeing Shika and Wen, this place makes me sick. I must concur, this town is a disgusting waste of magical energy. Carla lamented as she walked next to Natsu, crossing her arms over her chest. They've taken magic from all across Idolas and focused it into the royal capital. TCH, a city of relaxation and entertainment was created to gain the popularity of the citizens. Lucy scoffed, resisting the urge to spit on the ground as she imagined all the magic-deprived people across Idolas. What a wretched king.
Hey guys, it looks like something is going on over there,
Wendy said as she pointed toward a large crowd of people who were gathered down one of the capital's main roads.
Should we go check it out? Maybe it's a parade or something?
Lucy suggested, shrugging her shoulders as she watched several more citizens run down the street to join the expanding crowd.
It couldn't hurt to see what all the commotion is.
Everyone stick together, we don't want to get lost in this crowd, Natsu announced as he gripped Lucy and Wendy's hands, leading them through the dense crowd. The sounds of cheering and chants were overpowering as Natsu and his friends drew closer to the front of the gathering. Lucy and Wendy struggled to push through all of the people, but because of Natsu's strong grip, neither of them lost their way. However, as Natsu approached the edge of the throng of people, he spotted something that made him stop in his tracks, causing Lucy and Wendy to walk into his back.
What the fuck? Natsu, why'd you dash? Lucy stopped mid-sentence when she too saw what Natsu was looking at.
All of the Earthland fairy tale mages' eyes widened in shock when they witnessed a gigantic lacrima crystal being pulled through the capital.
Holy shit, that lacrima, it's enormous. It can't be.
Wendy said, holding back tears as she clutched both hands over her heart.
Everyone in Magnolia is in there. No, that's not all.
Carla corrected as she pointed toward one of the lacrima's jagged edges.
That is only one part of it.
Those marks are from where they split this chunk off.
Are you serious?
Happy exclaimed, his yells barely rising above the cheering crowd.
How is there even more than that? Long live the king. We love you, your highness. May your reign be everlasting. Children of Idolas.
All of the fairy tale mages tensed as they watched Faust, king of Idolas, walk onto a podium in front of the immense lacrima. Our kingdom, through the use of anima, has produced 10 years of magical energy.
Produced, you bastard.
Lucy growled as she tightly balled her fists, feeling intense anger welling up inside her.
You stole all of that from Earthland.
Sing together, dance together, let us share in each other's laughter, Faust proclaimed, raising his staff high into the air, which caused a roar of cheers from the crowd. The people of Idolas have a right to shared ownership of this magical energy. For we are the only people who will progress to the future, the holy race. With every word Faust spoke, Natsu could feel his rage burning hotter and hotter, veins bulging all along his body as he grit his teeth.
No shall steal our magic from us. And I promise you this, we will have more, even more, magical power. Natsu's immense rage reached a boiling point as he watched Faust strike the lacrima crystal with his staff, breaking off a large chunk. We shall have enough magic to make this amount look like garbage. Idolas. 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 This fucker, I can't just stand back and let him do this.
Natsu thought as his rage burned hotter and hotter with every one of the crowd's chants. However, as Natsu stepped toward the podium, he was stopped when something hugged his back. Whipping around, Natsu was prepared to fight off whoever had stopped him. But his rage began to ease when he saw that it was Lucy and Wendy, both girls holding onto him tightly.
Luce, Wendy. Natsu, please bear with it.
Lucy said through clenched teeth, feeling tears sting her eyes as she tightly wrapped her arms around Natsu's waist.
I know what you want to do, and believe me, Wendy and I want to join you. But we can't, not here. But, I can't.
Natsu growled as he tightly balled his fist, almost hard enough to pierce through the skin of his palms.
That lacrima, those are our dash. We know, Natsu, we all feel the same way.
Wendy said, hugging Natsu from the other side as she felt tears of frustration flow down her cheeks.
But Lucy is right, now is not the time to attack. Natsu didn't say a word, simply gazing at the anguished expressions on his friends' faces. He knew that if he sprang into action, they would undoubtedly follow him into the fight. But buried underneath Natsu's scorching rage, a small voice of reason was burning brightly.
That voice of reason told Natsu that Lucy and Wendy were right, now was not the time for impulsive action. If they were to attack now, then they'd more than likely be captured and executed. Taking a deep breath, Natsu managed to extinguish his searing anger for now. As the pink-haired dragon slayer turned to face the podium, he glared fiercely at Faust, an ember of immense rage still burning in his heart. It may not be today, but believe me, I will kill this motherfucker for what he did to my friends and mates. That wraps up this part of What If Natsu Had Dual Elements.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.